friendship that'll never ever end.
Now who is Bray Wyatt? I could give you 1,000,000 definitions, because I have 1,000 names. But in truth, I am no one.
I wouldn't say that's true. I think everyone here will agree with me that Bray Wyatt not only has had the whole world in his hands, but over the course of the past 18 months or so, he's had the entire WWE on his shoulders. He's been the main attraction to watch WWE programming. But if you go all the way back to the cult leader era of Bray Wyatt, has Bray really changed? When you look at the persona we see now in the Firefly Fun House, does it differ that much to the man we thought Bray resurrected? The Eater of Worlds, the cult leader, Bray Wyatt? I don't think so. I think the Firefly Fun House is a facade. I think it's a fun, happy, safe place for Bray and all his Fireflies. How do I know that? Because he's told us that. Why has he told us that? Because that is what Bray Wyatt wants us to believe. I think the entire Firefly Funhouse was created to lure us in. So we enjoy Bray Wyatt. We love Bray Wyatt. Exactly what a cult leader would want us to do. I genuinely believe that Bray Wyatt has not changed at all. I think this is just a different facade, a different face for cult leader Bray Wyatt. It's always been his goal to have the Wyatt family, but now we are the cult. Fans of Bray Wyatt have finally let him in to such an extent that we believe everything Bray Wyatt tells us. Seriously, we do. He is the cult leader. We look to him for our inspiration, for our truth. And although WWE have never actually treated Bray right, I think that's one of the main reasons that we actually had cult leader Bray go away in the first place. The Eater of Worlds vanished, and when he returned, he came back with something demonic, something really cool that grabbed everybody's attention. And it worked. But strip away the mask, and I think all that's left is the demented mindset of a psychopath. And this psychopath is controlling everything. And isn't it freaking brilliant? To think that me, you, everyone watching this plays into the story. And we can even say that the most recent thing that happened in the Funhouse, Wobbly Walrus, ties into this story. Now, Wobbly Walrus was not the friend Bray Wyatt planned to introduce us to. How do I know that? Because he wasn't. Alright, yep, we know Wobbly Walrus is an interpretation of Paul Heyman, but Bray Wyatt wanted to introduce us to Pasquale, the persevering parrot. But he unfortunately died, and we never got to meet the parrot. Parrot was Bray Wyatt's friend, not the walrus. However, the walrus came to be about. But think about the psychology here. Bray Wyatt's there. He couldn't introduce a Paul Heyman puppet. We would have gone like, what's that about? He obviously couldn't introduce us to the parrot, but he had to do something because he wants to get to Roman Reigns. Well, obviously Paul Heyman is Roman Reigns' manager. It therefore makes sense to create a puppet about him. But like I said, we wouldn't accept it. So instead, the boss, the Devil Vince puppet, is the thing that introduced the new special advisor to the Funhouse, Wobbly Walrus. Therefore, if you don't like it, it's not Bray's fault. It's Vince McMahon's. Hell, you're not meant to like Paul Heyman, but the psychology that Bray Wyatt is telling us, if you don't like it, you can't blame me, you have to blame Vince, is genius. Because believe me, this is 100% Bray Wyatt's story. Wobbly Walrus is a part of that, but it takes the responsibility off of the shoulders of Bray, and as fans, we know it wasn't Bray's fault that Wobbly Walrus is here. Instead, it's that devil Vince. And it explains why Ramblin' Rabbit has a help sign. Again, we think the Funhouse is this fun, happy place. But really, we know that there's something else going on. We kind of just try not to question it. We just want it to never ever end. So when Ramblin' Rabbit throws up the sign, we ignore it. And that's why I think cult leader Bray never went away. I think this is just a whole new different side of the cult leader coming out to recruit us, the WWE audience, to become the Bray Wyatt fan base. And why does it work so well? Simple. There's so much going on in the Funhouse, and we love it. So we go on WWE Shop. We buy all the t-shirts, the masks, the gloves. We go on there and buy the shorts, the hoodies. There's championship belts, puppets, and everything else. And we buy it all. We make Bray Wyatt the top merch seller in WWE. And for that, WWE do not ignore that. WWE therefore continue to push Bray. They push him. We enjoy it more and more. We buy more merch. The circle keeps going. And it's a cool thing as well, because the merch is freaking brilliant. I gotta say, I own quite a lot of it. But genuinely, it's fun that this creation is for us. But just because Bray created the Funhouse possibly for those reasons, it doesn't take away the fact that there's very likely to be something more sinister going on here. We saw on SmackDown Alexa Bliss. Once again, the dreadlocks much more prominent in her hair. We saw her actually deliver a Sister Abigail, Bray Wyatt's signature maneuver since the day Bray Wyatt came to WWE. She used that move on Nikki Cross. The entire wrestling world, I think, popped and went crazy at the thought that this was a direct message that she's doing something with Bray Wyatt. Now, we can also talk about the trance-like state we saw Alexa in, but before we do that, Alexa Bliss herself has actually spoken about what it was like with Bray Wyatt, and she said something very, very interesting.
Once you've interacted with him, it's almost like you can just feel his presence.
I do find that genuinely interesting, the fact that after an interaction with the Fiend, you feel him, you feel his presence, and is that what makes Alexa Bliss go into this trance-like state? Is this like a Fiend possession of sorts? Is the Fiend taking over Alexa? Well, again, comparing it to Seth Rollins, who we know has been in that trance-like state many times, we've seen him come down to the ring completely unenergetic, completely not interested in wrestling in the match. He stood on the side of the ring looking absolutely horrified at nothing. And then, out of nowhere, Seth Rollins snaps and does something that me, you, the commentators, even Murphy, thought was unbelievable, and pushed Ray's eye into the steel stairs. What exactly? Seth Rollins did this, he said, for the greater good. But again, he was in the trance. Is this the Fiend possessing people who have been with him? Much like a cult leader would tell people what to do. It's interesting, I know. But it just makes me wonder, and it's another tick for me, that cult leader Bray never went away. Instead, he just found a whole new way to play with his puppets. And when you talk about Seth Rollins, we often say, is Bray Wyatt the actual greater good as Seth Rollins talks about? Is it the Fiend? Well, maybe not. Maybe the greater good is just the greater good for that personal superstar. Finn Balor had to win the NXT title, he did. Seth Rollins had to push Ray's eye into the stairs, he did. Alexa had to hit the Sister Abigail move, she did. Why? To get us talking. When we talk, we tweet. When we tweet, we hashtag. When we hashtag, we search YouTube. When you search YouTube, you view a video. Some of us creators make a video. You guys watch the video. you show your support. And in turn, if you become a fan of that superstar, you might go and buy their merch. You buy their merch, they get pushed, and WWE respond. I genuinely think that no matter what version of Bray Wyatt you look at or you think about, I think you're seeing the exact same thing. A cult leader.
She said, Bray Wyatt, the first time that I ever looked inside of your eyes, I knew there was something inside of you. I knew that you were evil.
You are the man in the woods.
Because we've always known the Fiend. And the Fiend has always been there. Bray Wyatt has spoken about him for years. So if he was there during cult leader Bray's time, he has not changed. Even more proof? Listen to this.
I came down from some other world. Some heaven. I came to your world, and I said that I could fix everything that is wrong here. I could right all your wrongs and all the mistakes you've made. I could correct them.
And that's what we believe the Fiend's purpose is. To correct mistakes and right the wrongs. And Bray Wyatt was doing that ever since he came down from a heaven, another planet. It just makes sense that he hasn't actually changed. He's just put on a mask. He's just here to impress us. His cult. Kinda does make sense. And maybe this stretches to superstars as well. Maybe the cult will be something in WWE. We know Money in the Bank, he tried to recruit Braun Strowman. The puppets told us they congratulated Bray at the thought he brought Braun home. Easy for me to say, but Braun obviously didn't. But that was what Bray wanted to do. Seth, able to go into that trance, doing something for what he believes to be the greater good, whatever that might be. Is Bray Wyatt that greater good? Alexa Bliss seems absolute mesmerized by the ideology of the Fiend. Could she be being recruited? It would be a whole new family for the cult leader. And surely every cult leader needs a cult. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like the video, share the video so your friends can find it, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Remember to keep supporting Bray Wyatt and your favourite WWE superstars, because at the end of the day, hashtag we are the cult, and we have that power. I will see you as always next time.